Hello friends, welcome to Squaird Plans, where creative planning and organization comes to life. I'm Stephanie, and today we're going to be doing a mid-year flip through of my faith planner. I'll be showing you how I decorated all of my quadrant and monthly layouts, as well as how I've been using this planner to grow my creative lettering skills. So, if that sounds good, let's jump in. Okay friends, so if you've watched any of my other mid-year flip-throughs, you'll know that this planner is just a storage planner for all of my faith items. I actually work out of a Franken planner where I put 5 different planners a month at a time into that planner and work off of that. But this is where I house all of my faith planner-oriented items, so this is the storage area for my faith. So I have some metal discs and a cover from the Happy Planner, but again, this is kind of a hodgepodge setup. And then I also am using inserts from my Etsy shop. The layouts that you'll see here are available in my shop. If you have any questions about what you see as far as the main items, the layouts, the paper, that kind of thing, just check the description below. I'll have links to everything in there. So we're going to go ahead and start off with January. And I actually really loved January's theme. I decided to use some, what do you call this? Like some blending stamping ink. It's like a chalk ink. Has a little bit of a background mixed in with some snowflakes I made with a stamp. This really cool washi tape. And then also this layout of different stickers that I got from Planything and a few quotes from, I think, the washi tape shop. I really loved how this turned out. It was a very cute winter theme, I thought, and I loved the gradient of the blue-green colors. Just really was a great one and enjoyed this. So what I use my monthlies for, I do a daily reading in the Bible. So the monthlies are used to track what verses I read each day, and then I do what I call a takeaway from the reading so that I can kind of apply whatever I read to my life in some way for the day. So that's how I'll be using the monthlies throughout. I didn't really deviate from that. It really works for me, helps me kind of digest what I read, and I found it a very valuable exercise. So this is a standalone spread, again, available in my shop, called the Faith Overview spread. And in here, I have some areas for a prayer list, some habit trackers. I have a little currently area for the month where there are some prompts to check in with your spirituality, and then just a nice open space in these other areas. So what I've been doing is putting in a verse each month up here in this dot grid area. This can vary. Usually it's just decor. Of course, I have my prayer list in here, sometimes separated with, or most of the time separated with, my personal prayer requests at the bottom, and then for when I'm praying for other people, I put it at the top. I also have been tracking my morning prayer, my daily reading that applies to the monthly, the summary or the takeaway like I mentioned before, again on the monthly, and then my lettering practice, which you'll see on the quadrant. So that's what I've been using this for. Again, this will stay the same throughout the first half of the year, so there won't be any changes. And then I just fill this part of it out as the month progresses. So just as I have a moment and I feel the need to fill it out, that's when I do that. So that said, that is how the Faith Overview is being used here and throughout the year. And then next we get into my weeklies, which I'm using the quadrant layout from my shop for my weeklies. And how I've been using them is for lettering the verse of the day from the Bible app I use called YouVersion. So this is how the first week turned out. A couple of things to mention too. I theme the entire month at once and do like all the decor. I do that setup before the month begins, and then that way I only have to worry about filling out the items throughout the month. I also will pick colors to use in this area from the theme that I've chosen for the month. So I'll grab out a few different pens. These colored pens will vary depending on what I decided to use for the month. but I do use 2 standard pens for the rest of the black lettering. I use a Pigma Micron, usually in a 0.5 tip, but sometimes in a 0.3 depending on how I'm feeling. And then I will use a Tombow Fudonosuke brush pen for the brush lettering, and a hard tip, by the way. I am still not like what I would call an advanced letterer. I would say maybe intermediate at this point. I haven't done any formal drills or anything like that. So the way that I've been practicing lettering is basically doing it like you're seeing here. So this is my practice area, and I do whatever I feel works best for the verse. So sometimes it is brush lettering, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's something different. I just practice different styles of lettering and get creative with it. Also, too, I'll mention this while we're looking here, is that I do have a lettering series based off of how I work in this planner. So if you want a little bit of insight on that, and then also some tips and tricks to use in your own process if you would like to get started in this, do check my YouTube channel. There is a playlist for lettering, and you'll see the videos I've completed so far. There are 3, I think, at this point, but I may be adding more in the future if needed. And okay, I think we're ready to move on to the next spread. So the 2 colors I used this month were a green, which was a really nice kind of soft green, and then this really pale blue. The pale blue was a little bit hard to see as far as using it for lettering, so I used it more as a highlight element, but I was able to use the green if I wanted to do lettering a little bit easier. But I thought those 2 colors really worked well with the soft greens and blues that I used in the theme. Sometimes I do some doodling or like drawings to iterate the verse. Sometimes I don't, just depends on what I'm feeling for the morning and the verse. So here is the next week. Really liked how this month turned out. As I'm looking back on it, I don't think I had too many ones where I was really not feeling it. Lots of good ideas here and different styles to work in. And then here's the next one. I did theme out each week in 1 color. You'll see sometimes that changes. Sometimes I use 2 colors per week and vary them, alternate them. But this one I did a full week in 1 color and then switched. And then on the back page here, I've been decorating it, but I really just haven't found a great use for it just yet. I've had some ideas, which you'll see as we go through, and then also some suggestions that I may apply in the future. But I will be sticking with this layout and this format, I think, throughout 2023. That's the plan. So I might get a chance to really make use out of this page in the future. But for now, this is how they turned out. And I do like to have it decorated, so I just go ahead and set it up whether or not I'm going to use it. So now we're into February. And for February, I really loved this theme. I used some florals from Planny Things, some older florals when she used to do sticker sheets. And then I mixed those with some really pretty washi tapes and a couple of quotes too. Oh, and then some washi stickers from the washi tape shop. So those florals and the washi tape stickers kind of mixed in. This one, like I said, was the sticker sheets, but then as we go forward, you'll see some that are actually from a sticker book that Planny Thing put out. So this is a really pretty combination for February, kind of romantic. But again, all of the same tracking is going on here as far as what I was doing. Same here for this layout. It really didn't vary that much as far as what I was putting on the pages, but I really loved the decor in this one, and the theme was just very inspiring and pretty to look at. So here was the first week, and I used some newer, I think, Primrosia dual tip brush pens for the colors. I was having trouble finding colors that I thought matched up well with this theme. So the green's a little bit bright and the pink's also a little bit bright, but I thought that they worked the best out of everything that I had and allowed me to use each color for lettering and highlighting. So it gave me some variety that I could really use either color for both. So that said, this is how it turned out, and this month I decided to do a alternating color theme, so you'll see that as we go through. And here's how the next week turned out. Again, just really fun and a great way, I feel like, to practice lettering, get more time in the Word. And here is the next spread. That's how it turned out. Nothing really of note for this one. Another week here, just continuing that alternating theme. And then the back page, again, decorated but not really used. But I really do like having all of the month's pages just themed out and ready to go in case I do want to use them. So now we're into March. And for March, I got a little bit creative with some watercolor techniques, a little bit of mixed media, and then these realistic florals and washi tape. This one was a really pretty one too. I really like this one. A little bit more, I don't know, early spring vibes. And I liked the kind of pressed florals look. Again, this one, same content on here. Just a nice way to gather my ideas for each day's reading. And then these are the colors that I picked for the month. So you're going to see those were used in the backgrounds for each of the floral clusters that I did. I do have Plan With Me's, in case I haven't mentioned that, on all of the monthly setups. So if you want to see the techniques I used, and materials will be in the description. So if you really want more about the actual decor and the theme, check out the individual Plan With Me videos, and they are in a playlist on my channel for Plan With Me Faith. So here's how the first week turned out. Again, just lots of different options and variety of lettering to test out and try different ideas that I have, again, to help interpret the verse of the day. And here's the next week. I've been mainly decorating this upper corner here that says this week. That's really kind of where I keep the decor so that I have all of the space for lettering if I so choose. And here's the next week. Playing around with a little bit of doodling on this one. Really like how this one turned out now that I'm looking at it. So it was a good one. And then here is, I think, the next to last one. There might be one more after this. Oh, and I can see that there are some pencil marks that I left over. So let me just go ahead and erase those. I wonder how I didn't miss or see those before. Anyway, there you go. So there is how that spread came out, and I really loved how this layout turned out, along with this one as well, but this one was really good. All right, just, I don't know, something about it I really like. And the next week, I think this is the final week for March. Yeah, I had some fun with these. And again, decorated the back, but no content as of yet. So here's April, and for April, I decided to do this butterfly theme with a little bit of calligraphy ink splattered in. I just really liked how this turned out in the end. I mixed some Happy Planner stickers with, I think, a butterflies collection that I got maybe from either Stationery Pal. Yeah, I think it was Stationery Pal that I got the butterflies from. Some quotes from the Happy Planner and some washi tape. I also did this hack that I saw a while back and love for these extra long months where they drop into a 6th week. Just allows you to use the entire box without having to split your content in half. So it's just a little extra box stuck on, divided in half, and out on the diagonal, and then you just glue down one side. Really cool little hack if you've never seen that before. But yeah, so that's what I used and just loved I did. I really like this theme a lot. I feel like most of the faith themes that I've been doing have been really good. So here is the overview pages. And again, you can see the decor here. I continued on, but all of the same content. I do try to vary a little bit of how I decorate the areas, but since so many things are kind of locked into place, there's not too much variety, but I still really like to play around with this and see what I can come up with. And here's the first week of lettering. I decided to stick with a kind of wheat yellow tone to match in with the colors in the washi and in the butterflies. And then also I pulled in an orange, which is a little bit brighter on certain pages, but you'll see it ties in pretty nicely on others depending on the decor. So those are the two colors I went with, and I alternated this month. So here's how the next week turned out. A couple of good ones here, a couple of strong options. This one was pretty good. This one was also pretty good. Sometimes it's good when I look back because I kind of forget. There's so many different ways to letter. Like, I haven't done a serif lettering option in a while, and I just look back and I was like, oh yeah, I should bring that back. And here is, I think, the third week we're on. And another couple of good ones. Some days I'm really in the zone. Sometimes I'm not. Like, I can tell I wasn't really in the zone on here, but like I really was here. You know, the ones that tend to look better are the ones where I'm really feeling it in the morning. That is, you know, just a product of how creative I'm feeling that day. And here is, I think, maybe the next to last week. This might be the last week for April. And how it turned out. Lots of different style on this one. Really like that one a lot. So I did try a few things on this back page. As you can see, this first trial was to do just a gratitude, and I only did it when I felt the need to write it in, not necessarily anything other than that. So I just dropped in gratitudes as the month progressed. That was okay. I mean, it was pretty good. I've had a suggestion to do maybe blessings instead. That might work as well in a future page setup. So now we're on to May. And for May, I did this feather theme, which I pulled in some older feathers in the blues, and then you see some that are kind of like in the warmer tones, so like cool tones and warm tones, mixed in with some quotes and washi. I also did a little bit of watercolor throughout the month as a background here as well, kind of similar to the one I did in March with the dried florals, but this one I brushed on the watercolor, and that kind of all brought the design together. Really wanted to do more like mixed media styles, not just plain stickers in my planner at this point in time. So I really came up with some interesting ways to really test things out and see what you can come up with. So for this one, I actually put in the watercolor too at the top to denote the verses that I read for the day, and that worked out really well. So this month was a little bit different because I did the cool colors on one spread and then the warm colors on the other to try to differentiate them from each other, because I didn't really like the mix. I thought the mix was going to be a little bit too contrasty. So I had this really dark kind of burgundy toned highlighter that I thought was going to be a good match for this, but as I lightened it up with water, it got kind of pinky in tone, which I wasn't expecting. So that was a little bit of a meh for me as far as the overall layout, but I think it came together still pretty well. It just was a little bit of a surprise color, and they didn't have anything else that I thought would work well with it, so we just went with it for the month. And because of that, I kept each spread its own color, again, just trying to differentiate the blues from the reds, if you will. So this is how the first week turned out. And for this month, I was using highlighters which had a fine tip, but also a chisel tip on the other sides. The chisel tip was very challenging to work with for lettering. So this was not my best month as far as lettering. It's really just trying to work around how to use that chisel tip if I was doing any kind of lettering. So this was actually done with a chisel tip, the brush-ish lettering, and came out not so great. There's a lot of like correction on there. I don't know if you guys can see, but I mean overall it was still a good color scheme. Just a little bit challenging. Here's how the next week turned out. And again, that chisel tip. I really tried on some of these, but it's pretty rough all the way through. I'm not gonna lie. And here's how the next week turned out. I actually pulled out a little bit of my old school like calligraphy technique that I learned a long time ago with like a traditional calligraphy pen. And I was having a really hard time trying to remember how to even do it. So that was my attempt. And I think I got close to how it was, what I could remember. And I just realized I double-eyed that word there. Things you see after the fact. Here was, I think, maybe the last week of the month. And I actually came up with a couple of good ones on this one. I really liked how this one turned out, and this one actually was pretty good as well. But the other ones are kind of meh. And then I tried to do, again, something on this page. This time, I had a few things pop up as I was doing my daily reading that I wanted to dig more into. So I went ahead and started writing those down, but I didn't really get that far. But it is good to have it in here in case I go back through. I can always, do a little bit of research and have those there for reference. So now we're into June. This is the last month we'll be seeing. And then for June, I did, again, kind of like a watercolor thing, but I did the watercolor on top of a black and white sticker, paper sticker, with these florals. So I was doing clusters of color, mixing in just different stickers, and then the watercolor florals with those, matching those up with whatever little sticker clusters I was doing. So that turned out really good, and I kept with this like soft teal tone and this yellow and then this peachy pink tone. And you can really see it here pretty well in the clusters. I kept the clusters again in their own color, but tried to combine them as I could on the main pages, so you would get a feel for the color scheme before you got into it. So this is how it turned out. I really liked this theme a lot too. I really wasn't very disappointed with many of the themes. This one, I did that kind of smoky teal color here for the week. So you're going to see I'm going to alternate, but each week is going to stick in one color because I didn't want it to get too colorful. Sometimes that gets overwhelming, so I do tend to like to stick with one color in black for at least each day, and then if the color scheme warrants it, I like to do a full week in one color just to keep things simplified and the focus more on what I'm lettering versus the colorfulness of it. So this was the first week. And the next week I brought in the yellow, which I really like the brightness of the yellow and the black together. I thought that was a really nice contrast and bright and cheery as well. Perfect for summer. A couple of good ones in here I'm seeing. I liked this one a lot. So the middle week for the month was in the kind of peachy pink, but as you can see, the color I pulled for the lettering was not the right color. I tried to find one that was close enough that would get it to do what I wanted it to do, but I just couldn't find the right color. So I ended up using this one that was like in the same tone, but a lot more saturated, which was good for lettering, but maybe not so much for matching up with the color scheme. Thankfully, there was only 1 week where I needed to use this, so that's how it turned out. And then we were back to the soft teal blue. This one I was using also a highlighter chisel tip, so a lot of the lettering was kind of limited by that as well. And then for the yellow, I think I had a brush tip for the yellow. I think I was using the Twi markers for that, which have a brush tip on one side and a fine tip on the other, so I could do a little bit of both depending on the situation. And then the very back page. And that is it, you guys. The first half of the year all in my faith planner. Really had some great themes I was excited to be in all year long, and looking forward to a great back half of the year as well. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up down below. Go ahead and leave me a comment if you'd like to get in touch, and think about subscribing to my channel if you haven't already, if you'd like to see more of my videos. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and we will see you next time. Bye!